Welcome to Evidently Speaking by Project Evident. I'm Sarah Troia. Project Evident harnesses the power of data, evidence, and technology for greater impact. Evidently Speaking explores the stories core to this mission and highlights the insights and successes of nonprofit practitioners and our partners. Project Evident worked with the technology and program leads of 13 nonprofits to co-create a practical and actionable Equitable AI Adoption Framework. The episodes in this series each examine one component of the framework and feature the experience and expertise of our partners. This episode focuses on designing for outcomes. The Equitable AI Adoption Framework breaks designing for outcomes into 4 key areas: surfacing an AI-shaped opportunity, checking that AI opportunity against a program logic model, using AI to support evaluation, and using insights from AI models to drive program improvement. Designing for outcomes starts with a deceptively simple question. Is AI actually the right tool for the problem you're trying to solve? When one of our partners thinks about how to approach this question, he uses one word:
pragmatic.
That's Scott Del Rossi, Vice President of College and Career Success at College Possible, an organization that works to expand college access and success by pairing great coaches with smart systems so students can persist, graduate, and launch their careers. Scott and his team at College Possible use AI tools to supplement their coaching. They use their historical data and institutional knowledge to provide better suggestions for students to get to and through college quicker. They also use these AI tools to handle a lot of the administrative tasks that their coaches were spending time on. That way, coaches have more time for quality conversations with the students that they're advising.
We're an AmeriCorps model, and so we have these very young, idealistic, recent college graduates come into our program and dedicate a year of service, and they are our coaches for the students. With that comes just these inherent challenges where they're coming in and we only have about 2 to 3 weeks to train them on everything around higher ed, college access, college success, and then they leave at the end of the year taking all that institutional knowledge with them. Our aha moment at College Possible was really with the proliferation of generative AI. When we started to look at tools like ChatGPT and other generative AI tools, we realized this would be a much simpler way to codify that institutional knowledge. Future coaches could query this knowledge library and get responses back immediately just based on the specific context of the situation they're working with. It was just a very quick way for us to train the coaches. They might have needed to go to Google, they might have needed to ask their program manager, and then they're trying to consolidate all that into a solution for the student. And that might take, hours, if not days. With something like generative AI, it was like immediate response. And so our response times got a lot quicker when we were thinking about it in that way, but we're also just getting the right information to the student.
By embedding curriculum, case notes, and coaching insights into the AI-supported systems, College Possible aligned its technology directly with its program logic model and outcome goals.
We really wanted to make sure that we're tying these tools to our student outcomes. And so it's really kept us grounded in how we've explored these tools.
Tying your technology to outcomes is so important. And first of all, it's why we're all in the nonprofit sector, to help make people's lives tangibly better. But the second reason is, the biggest fear of funders is that practitioners are chasing AI as a shiny new object. That insight comes from our Funding the Future report, which came out in 2025. So, avoid the shiny new object syndrome by always putting your program logic model front and center when exploring new technology. Listen to Scott.
So our logic model and our technology roadmap have really been co-developed from its inception. I think some of that is due to us being on the same page from kind of a high level strategy. Like, this is the direction we're both committing to as departments and as an organization. And I think we've also just benefited from the types of individuals that we're finding in both departments. And in that way, we feel very fortunate. But on our IT team, we have a lot of programming folks. And on our programming side, we have a lot of technology bent folks that are more open to these as solutions. And so our roadmap has always existed in harmony between program and technology.
College Possible is an example of an organization that was founded before AI and is now embracing AI for outcomes while centering its program logic model. However, increasingly, we can look at newer nonprofits who were more recently founded and were created with AI embedded in their program logic models. This is Laila Brenner, the head of philanthropy at TalkingPoints. TalkingPoints is what we would call an AI native organization. They were founded with AI at the core of their program model. So they use technology and AI to help schools and families build meaningful partnerships that help children thrive.
Well, we're a native AI organization. We've been using it since it was before it was mainstream. And we have built a proprietary translation model with educational context that translates in over 150 languages for educators and families. We also use generative AI to build tools that support teacher capacity, help teachers communicate with families, as well as support at home learning.
At Talking Points, AI is a new technology, but it's being deployed to solve a well researched and persistent challenge that gets in the way of students thriving. And importantly, Talking Points built their program logic model starting with the research.
We think a lot about the research that's been done over decades that really shows the power of family engagement and how can we use technology to build that into actionable insights, best practices that we can drive with teachers and families. And I'll give you a tangible example. So, research shows that approaching a conversation with a family in a positive and asset based way is much more likely to start a trusting relationship, which then gets the activities that will help that student thrive, whether it's helping them in math or increase their reading. So we take that research and we build it into best practices. For example, teachers can go and they can put in a keyword and it will generate a message that is asset based, actionable, and really based off of these decades of research that have already been done.
The twinning of AI and outcomes by aligning the technology roadmap and the program logic model helps organizations make people's lives tangibly better. Listen to Layla talk about how Talking Points helps districts take practical and actionable steps to address absenteeism.
So, one of the crises that we're really facing in the education system today is chronic absenteeism. 1 in 4 kids are not regularly showing up for school. And we know when you're not in school, you're not learning. And so, in our program logic model, we want to help children thrive. And part of thriving is making sure that you get as much education and are in the seat as much as possible. And so, how do we help schools understand why are these students absent? Why aren't they showing up? So we've built into our product roadmap an entire attendance suite. And an important part of that is using AI to capture reasons. So imagine your attendance clerk. You're getting emails, you're getting phone calls, you're overwhelmed with all of these messages from parents saying, my child's sick today, or our car broke down and we couldn't get to work. And we're now able to use AI to extract those reasons into categories, which we then present to schools and districts so that they can analyze what are some of the trends? Why aren't kids showing up? And therefore, then they can take action on those. So, is it a transportation issue? We've seen a district change their entire busing policy because they've been able to uncover that buses just simply weren't going far enough to pick the kids up.
Designing for outcomes also means rethinking how nonprofits evaluate what's working in their program model. AI can enable new methods for program evaluation. It can broaden the evidence definition and use and create a continuous R&D like approach to evidence building.
We have the largest data set of school family conversations in multiple languages. We have over 1.5 billion conversations, and we're now able to analyze those at scale in a way that was simply never possible before. And I'll just give you an example. We did a research study about a year and a half ago, and we looked into just 40 million of these messages and what are families and educators talking about? What are their biggest concerns? What's rising to the top? And that would have taken a manual researcher 53 years without AI to analyze just 40 million of those messages. So now we have the power to look at 1.5 billion messages and understand not just what they're talking about, but really understand the nuance and the intention of the conversations and understand what's behind those and which conversations drive the most impact.
AI can not only enable new methods for program evaluation, it has the potential to generate insights that can meaningfully improve program offerings by supporting continuous R&D like learning.
The one thing that AI has given us that we didn't expect to learn about our program model, just because it was just not in the realm of possibility, was just greater insight into our interactions between the coach and the student. And that's happening for every interaction, and that's happening at scale across the organization. Previously, we would do something that we call coach observations. And so our staff would go and observe the coach in a classroom or observe and listen in on a phone call, take notes, and provide that feedback to the coach on how to improve those conversations in the future. But of course, um, there's a lot of bias and kind of within that situation. The coach knows that the program manager is there, so they're going to, perform in a certain way. They're, preparing for that probably a little bit better than other conversations. And so those results are always a little skewed to some degree. With AI, one of the things that we wanted to do is really understand like what makes a meaningful conversation between a coach and a student and what was impactful about that conversation. And so one of the things we had to do was figure out a way to record all the conversations, whether text or phone calls. And so that was the first step in that process. The second step is using AI to then analyze all the phone calls, all the texts, and begin to generate some like engagement scores. So yes, this was a really engaging conversation between the coach and the student because the coach is asking open-ended questions. They're asking more questions than they're talking. It's a balanced conversation. That just gave us such a level of detail that we never thought we would have access to. And it's really dictated a lot of the things that we've done just in the short term. So we've created a coach academy to really go through and retrain and really kind of highlight specific tactics and coaching methodologies that we want coaches to deploy.
Designing for outcomes doesn't stop at evaluation. It's about using insights to improve programs in real time. For Talking Points, that meant learning how message tone and timing affect family engagement. And those insights, that informed new product features. Features like attendance nudges and family check-ins.
When we analyzed just a portion of our messages, we really found that it was the timing and the content of the messages that was driving certain impacts. For example, starting the school year off with a very positive, asset-based message saying, we want to be in partnership with you. We want to know how we can support your child and how you can support your child at home really led to improved outcomes for students. So we've built features into our tool that help teachers really easily start those conversations at the beginning of the school year or at any point in the school year where we know it will make a big difference.
Designing for outcomes isn't about chasing new tools. It's about grounding AI in your mission, expanding your definition of evidence, and being open to learning about how you can enhance your outcomes. Laila, she really says it best.
I would say really start with the outcomes that you want to drive. AI is a tool. It is a means to an end. It's not the end. So if you start with very clear outcomes in mind, you design your program around that and you find how AI will enhance the humans trying to drive those outcomes.
Thank you for listening to Evidently Speaking by Project Evident. I'm Sarah Troia. At Project Evident, we work to build trusting partnerships and expand access to tools so leaders have what they need to improve outcomes. We believe that when practitioners are equipped with actionable data and evidence, stronger and more meaningful outcomes for students and communities become a reality. To learn more about our mission and work, visit projectevident.org.